Hello, and welcome to the Art of a Well-Lived Life. I'm Dr. Katie Hauser, your host, and I am here today with a very, very dear friend of mine, Dr. Michele Doucette, who was my chiropractic classmate. And she and I have traveled a lot of roads together, and I'm just so excited to just introduce you to her. She lives a life of such intention. And for me, when I think about a well-lived life or my version of that, she really brings that to reality by the way she lives her life every day. And so I'm super excited to have this conversation with her and share her thoughts and her world with you. So, without any further ado, I will bring her into the Zoom room. Well, here we have my dearest friend, Dr. Michele Doucette, coming to us from Wilmington, Vermont. And yeah, we were
Hi.
just, hi. We were just chatting a little bit before we went live because we have a fellow classmate who from chiropractic school who is much, 20 years older than most of us. I think it was his third career when he went into chiropractic school. So he's 84 and he's currently dying. And so we were just talking about, that whole idea of the well-lived life. And I would have to say, in my opinion, from an outsider looking in, I think Bill has had a very well-lived life.
Mm, mm,
um, and doing all the things that he wanted to do and enjoying his relationship to his wife and, just all of it. I mean, but again, that's the art of it, right? Because it looks so different for everybody.
right.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about this past week when you asked me to have a talk with you about a well-lived life, was just how a well-lived life is a constellation of many things, right? And Dr. Gladys McGarry got it right. I started rereading her book again, which I love. Um, so just as a little aside, at first when I picked up the book, I picked it up because you were interviewing her, and I was like, of course I'm going to read this. This is important to Katie, and it's, another book about a well-lived life, and just expecting it to be about diet and exercise, and it was just about this stuff of life. It was about
Mm,
like really living life. It is about really living life, and the five L's are, and
yeah.
I just think the way she talks about a well-lived life is so true. And She got it right, man. It's a beautiful book. I just really love it. It's simple and straightforward and real. And yeah, so Bill, God bless you. In your journey, we were just talking about that a well-lived life will even change. It's different for everybody, and it will even change from point to point in one person's life, right? Like how they would describe a well-lived life might be different in their 20s than in their
Oh,
80s.
yeah. Right.
Because we're doing different things. And as Bill is nearing the end of his life, he has created a life where he is held in the field of love by his partner Barbara, his wife, and a lot of patients he's treated over the years. And he's been creative, playing his bagpipes and
Right.
sailing, and
Right. Right. Right.
basically always doing what he's wanted, and he's always been creative. And I have to feel that he has some peace at this time, that life moves, energy moves. Dr. Gladys certainly showed us that, that we can die as just another way of moving our energy and being
Right.
curious about what's next. So
Right.
I,
Her her death was just such a beautiful example for me to see that conscious transitioning and even with my friend Cynthia that just died in July, she as well was very much a part of her death, was aware of it, was ready for it. And, I would say the difference would be with Cynthia, even though she could own it and say, like, I'm a little bit afraid, but not really, but I kind of am because I don't know where I'm going, and with Gladys, there was just no fear. There was just no fear. She was so connected and in the stream that it was just I feel like if one could imagine what it would be like, it's just like she just stepped into another river and got into an inner tube and just started floating down another river and was like, "Woohoo! Here
Yeah,
we
yeah.
go!"
I
And
love that. I love that imagery. I was thinking about that, because when I think about this conversation, I think about how often she talked in her book about love.
mm,
And she was someone that was surrounded by love. Her children were there in her home and near her, and her patients and friends, and just the birthday party that y'all
yeah,
had for her not too long ago. And um, I think that one of the things that's really essential to a well-lived life is love, and to be held in the field of love, to allow yourself to be held in the field of love. Because if glad and she would say in her book, self-love comes first, like and so she loved herself, and that's a learning process through life. We learn to love ourselves.
absolutely.
And she did love herself, and then and therefore allowed others to love her. And therefore, of course, I wasn't there, but I imagine that in the dying process, you can release yourself into that field of love. Like
Mm,
that can carry you through, like the water and the stream that you're talking about, right? Like you step into, yes, you're afraid to some degree, or maybe not at all. I think there's always a little bit of fear of the unknown, but the curiosity and and I love what she used to say about letting your hand go, right? Like
right.
releasing. Um, and it feels to me when I experience, say, the love I have with my husband, which is immense, he just creates this immense field of love for me, that I can always release into it. I can always let go into it. I can always find home there. And so if Gladys found home in the field
Mm.
of love around her and within her, right? Then you can let go.
So do
Then
you think that's the underlying, or not the one and the only, but a real underlying tenet of a well-lived life is self-love, which
I, yeah,
is
I
so
do.
hard for so many people.
Yeah.
I mean, there are aspects I wouldn't say that I definitely love myself, but I've really worked to love myself. There were a lot of times where I did not love myself. And I
Mhm.
would say that there's probably still some times that come up where I'm like, "Ugh," there's a little, not self-loathing, but I don't know. I wonder how common that is. Like, what's the percentage of people on the planet that struggle with self-love? I would bet it's pretty high.
I think it's high based on the work I do, with zero balancing, which is body, mind, spirit integration work. People come and their frame for the session, their intention for the session is often about whether these are their words or not. It's often about finding their place in their own life, or
Mhm.
finding comfort, or finding a way to release stress, finding, right? And if you think about why we would hold tension patterns, why we would hold stress, it's because a lot of times we believe that it's our responsibility to fix something, or
Right,
we haven't done it right and we have to do it differently, or somebody else is doing it like this and we should measure ourselves against them, right?
right, right.
And self-love, again, it's just that release. Self-love allows us to release into the authentic expression of the bigger self. So I
Mm.
think the smaller self, this maybe the small s self, right, is like our third chakra, our persona, who we think we are, judgments, what we've learned about ourselves,
Our
how we
identity.
positioned ourselves, our personality. Um, and we make mistakes and we aren't perfect. And so if we identify ourselves with that small self, then I imagine we can experience more self doubt, self recrimination,
Yeah,
all the way up to self-loathing. But again, if you go back to the whole idea of love and being able to let go into the field of love, then you're letting go into if you're doing it within yourself, you're letting go into something bigger. What is that something bigger? And
right.
isn't that the question of life, right? Isn't that
Right.
what we've all been asking each other this whole time, the
Right.
mystery
Because
of life?
like when you just said, releasing into love, what does that even really mean? Like, what the hell? I don't know what that means. Like, what does that feel like? What does that look like? How is that like what is that? I mean, I can when I think about it, I think about tapping into the light of the creator, whatever that is for anyone. Um, yeah, that's yes, the age-old question of, what's it all about, Alfie?
Well, and I think about I think the kind of perspective or philosophy that speaks to me the most is Taoism. I think about the Tao and the river, like you said, Gladys stepping over and just going into another river. What's another way of describing that? Another life, right?
Right,
Another path, another way that she's moving. She didn't stop moving. She just shifted into another stream.
right.
And so when I think of the Tao, it always just brings me back to the way of nature because that's the way to describe it, right? It's the way things are, it's the way things move. So I think that's close to self-love and close to if I had to pick one thing that I thought was connected to a well-lived life, it would be to live with the flow of the Tao, with the like that there is a flow and we have free will in that flow, but we need to be in the flow to even
Mm,
be able to choose the next thing that we want to choose, right? So looking to the principles of nature and looking how water flows in streams, looking how the seasons change. And that's why Chinese medicine is so gorgeous. It's so lyrical. It's so um, it uses nature to teach us about ourselves, and we are nature. I mean, let's
right,
get
right,
clear about that, right? So if the stream moves in a certain way, and the cycles move in a certain way, and the planets move in a certain way, certainly we move in a certain way, right? And I think if we can let go, that's where the love comes in. Let go, trust the divine, the Tao, which I think are the same thing, right? The divine wisdom of how things move, which brings us to the idea of movement, because Gladys would say in her book, that everything has to move.
right,
And certainly it's been said in many places, where energy doesn't move, pain will grow, or stagnation or disease. Certainly the basis of why we both became chiropractors,
right.
keeping the body moving, keeping the nervous system moving. So um, if the Tao is a way, is a river, and we're living with the Tao, we're living with that divine love, we're living with whatever animates our individual bodies and the world around us, then when something goes wrong, we're not so stuck in the self-loathing or the self-recrimination, right? Because we're not stuck in just, oh, I am just myself. I'm in this river and the river is moving. So if something happens and I have regret or I have shame or I have doubt or I have um, grief, I can still tap into the greater field that's moving me along. And that's where the magic has been in my life is just say, well, this is happening. how do I continue to move with it? Right? How do I continue to look at the next thing? What's the next question? What's the next curiosity that comes to mind? And
That's such a
follow that.
that's such a great way of explaining it because as you were just talking about it, it's interesting that it sort of takes you out of yourself. Like it it's like, oh, it's not me. I'm part of the river. And if something's not working right or flowing right, it's not that I'm wrong, like I'm defective in any way. I'm just part of the stream. So where in the stream can things shift?
Yeah.
How can I? Yeah, it's a very, that's cool. It's a very expansive way of talking about it that gets you out of the self-incrimination of,
Mhm.
I suck, I did it wrong, whatever. We
Yeah.
can go down those paths. Yeah, so yeah, I love that.
Because if we are part of nature, and clearly we are, and I think that's so important to just really embody that, right? Like we are like the ants. We are
Yeah,
like the trees. We have life force that moves through us just like everything else, just like the planet. And we're responsible for some of that, and some of it we can't do anything about. Right?
right.
So we have that kind of dualism. Um, and I kind of forgot what I was going to say.
Well,
Uh,
one of the things that I talked about when I was just did a little preamble about you, um, is that I feel like the way you and Dale have created where you live is one of the most intentional places that I've been. And it was interesting because 2 weeks ago when I was in Santa Barbara and I was leading the art retreat there, this woman who you would love, has also created an incredibly intentional space to hold events. And it's in her home, and she's an herbalist. And like it was really interesting because walking in there and leading this day-long retreat, I just felt energetically held. And so I feel like your way of being in the space where you and Dale have created your home, your office, your everything, it's just, magical there, speaks to you being part of nature. And that's where you formulate how you move through the day. I
yeah.
don't know. It's such a beautiful thing, and I never take that for granted about you. Mm, makes me want to cry.
Well, thank you. You're right. And when we bought this land, the first thing we did was I mean, you and I did the harmonic convergence together, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we went into the woods and put sticks and mud in our hair and mud on our faces. And they told us that the world was shifting, and that there was a new age of Aquarius coming in. And we were like, let's do it. We
I
didn't
have the
even
picture to prove it.
we didn't even know what it meant. And we were young, 20 something chiropractic students,
Yeah,
just like playing in the world and believe and taking and saying yes. I'm a big proponent of saying yes whenever I can to life, right? So even you were going to visit your family in Northern California, and I said, yes, I want to come, right? And
yeah,
it created these moments that we both still lift us both still up,
yeah,
that lift us up both still. Uh, so, but to your point, so the first thing we did when we bought this property was we came here and we did that. We had a little ceremony and we just asked the animals that live here to allow us and to welcome us to live with them, that we would protect them if, when we could do our human thing here. We built an off-the-grid house because I wanted to be close to the cycles of nature. I wanted to pay attention to when I use electricity and to when the sun
Right.
is up and when the wind is blowing, and to turn lights off when I don't. I just wanted to be that conscious. So I built something that would hold that intention for me and really kind of make me do that, right? Because that's how
Right.
you live in an off-the-grid house. When we literally built the house, we have straw bale walls, and there was literally, plastering of the plaster onto the walls, the wall singing Sanskrit chants, and, pressing the energy of love and the energy of gratitude and the chants and the overcoming obstacles, into the walls as we were building the house, in tears of gratitude. Like, I can't believe it's a beautiful piece of property, and I can't believe a little girl from a small town could be building a house here, like how did this happen? Right. So just that gratitude that life had already at that point gotten behind me in something. When I was thinking about this question of what is a well-lived life, I'm like, well, when did this blessing start? Like maybe it started at birth, but it felt like there was a lot of karma maybe to overcome, or past life things or ancestral energy patterns to overcome. So I'm not really sure when it started, but I maybe in the harmonic convergence.
Maybe.
It worked because at the time we were like, we'll just do this hippy dippy thing, and we had a good time, but we didn't I didn't really feel anything happen, but there was a lot of magic that started happening in life around then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, being open to that's another part of the Tao, right? Being open to the flow of things. And just around intention, what I want to say is the most astounding thing to me was when I started working in my office here and welcoming patients here, and they'd be like, I feel better just when I drive down the driveway.
Yeah.
And certainly when I walk through the garden to get into your office, and then I come in here and it's like I just feel better already. And I realized that I was happy, living in this place. And then I realized that when you build something with intention, it holds the intention. So it gives it back to you. Like I didn't build the house thinking it was going to give me back something, right? I was just like, you put runes in the foundation, you put crystals in the foundation, you
Yeah.
use the well,
Right.
you just and I guess what it comes down to, Katie, is you live with the aliveness of the world. The world is awake. The planet is awake. The natural world is as awake as I am, even if it can't talk with a mouth and see with eyes.
Right.
Or maybe it does those things. And if it's awake and I have a conversation with it, it's going to converse back with me.
Right.
That's I think what people feel when they come here, because people always say that like it's just a house in a field. It's lovely, but what makes it special is that the energy field here has been built with intention over and over and over again, because we're curious about that. And people come here to heal, and people come here to visit, and people come here to celebrate, people come here to learn. And that the meditation that keeps happening when we gather to learn and to experience life keeps
Right.
building the field.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's incredibly palpable, and I was going to ask you that question, like when did you have that aspirational dream, like to create that? That's not something that you just wake up one day and you're like, "Oh, I think I want to do this thing." Like it was building in you all along,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah, when I was little, probably like middle school age, I used to draw a lot, and I used to draw a picture of my house. And it was a house by a lake. There was a dock and a canoe, and there was a lot of windows with a lot of plants.
interesting. There you go.
And so, yeah, probably, even before I was conscious of it, I feel now that you're asking me that question, the answer that's coming in real time, which is what I'm really interested in, is conversations that bring us to channeling information that's true, right? Like, I don't know this, like, I've never thought of this before. But in this moment, I'm going to say, I was born to have this life. Like, I was born in a family that didn't talk this talk, right? But
Right.
somehow I found my way into early experiences, even as a young person, when I could walk downtown in my hometown, I would go to church by myself, just because I thought there was something about the mystical experience of being in that building. It wasn't about the priests, what they were saying, or the dogma, but there was something about being in that building and the teachings of my heart connecting to the heart of Jesus, to the heart
Mm,
of the divine. That I was like, well, that's my home, right? Like, so somehow I knew that. And so I feel like my life has been blessed from the beginning and probably has something to do with past lives and,
hmm
other
hmm
other karmic things. I think those of us who are working in the healing arts often come in to work in the healing arts. We come in to help.
Right.
And so we may be, I think your story is probably similar. You found your way through your upbringing into, you wanted to be a medical illustrator, right?
Right.
And that's artistic and expressive and, helping people to learn and to heal. And you found your way into something where you could touch bodies and embody that.
You know
In
what's weird about that is that, I mean, I went to a chiropractor when I was 16, and he was, I don't know if you remember me telling you about him, but he was like this magical little elfin man. And I was like, wow, he's just like magic, the way he worked on my body. And it wasn't even like I left there knowing that I was going to become a chiropractor. So it was really weird. There was no like deciding. I didn't really think about it. It was like, nope, it just dropped in.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. And, it wasn't
Cool.
an easy road for me to get there just because, academics are not my strong suit, but, got there.
Yeah,
Um,
but your will, your
yeah,
knowing, your soul, you might say, had this path, had this movement toward it
right.
already, which is what Gladys talks about,
Yeah.
tapping into the juice.
Well, and so, the thing, I mean, I think about like where you live and what you've created there. And of course, a well-lived life isn't just all about where you live but it is how you live and how you move through whatever space you're in. So when I think about where I live currently, this house is 140 years old and has been standing the test of time and right on the Long Island Sound and has weathered many storms and, the whole thing. But I didn't create it with the intention like you have created yours. But regardless, within this space, we can still create that and put that vibration into whatever dwelling we happen to be living in. It's,
Yeah, but I think we create in different ways because I feel like you did create that because you were like, if I'm going to live on the East Coast, I want to live at the ocean. And you just knew that and knew the same thing as being a chiropractor. You were
yeah,
just
true.
like, and then you rented one house and then you rented your house that you're in now. And then
Right,
you made it so the people, you didn't force them, but you made it so they sold you that house.
right,
And you're living on the ocean in Short Beach, Connecticut. There's not a lot of houses there, but you got one.
right,
You know what I mean? And you're
right.
right, the ocean, you step out of your house and the ocean is right there. And you get to look at it every day. So you manifested that in a
Using
different
Gladys's
way
word.
where you didn't have to build it with your hands. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Uh, And look at all the art that in the beauty of your home and like what you create there in your kitchen and how you feed people
Well, so
on
that's
multiple levels. Yeah.
well, so and that's really to the point of creating the well-lived life, like you said, it shows up in all these different ways. And
Mhm.
so, yes, I do all those things that you said, and that fills my soul and
Yeah.
I makes me so happy. And I think for me, when I feel that feeling of, oh, that just feels good when I do this thing or, whatever, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that is all that matters. So that would be, I guess, when I feel like I'm tapping into the greater river, the greater field of love,
Yes.
because you're really one with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we feel good, we have positive neurochemicals moving through our body, right? So when we do things that feel good to us, whether it's passively or actively, dancing, lying on a table and having someone work on us, swimming in the ocean, making art, hugging a person, that the feeling that feels good is our leader. Like it's telling us we're in the
Mhm.
right place, right? I mean, with the exception of maybe artificial drugs and alcohol and things like that, right? Like there are things that are placeholders for real life things. Um,
Well,
we need
tapping
a
in.
little bit of
No, I was
so
just going to say with you talking about the Tao, it's like the divining rod,
yeah.
right? So when you're in that space where you're talking about, it's like the divining rod is like, yes, right here, right now, this is it.
Yeah, and why? Because you're feeling an authentic expression of
Mm,
yes in your own body. You're saying, yes, I love this. Yeah. You're like, and when you say yes, energy is moving forward. It sends the energy forward, right? So whenever something feels good, yeah, yeah, a divining rod or like a rudder on
hmm
the boat, right, that keeps us going. And it leads us to authenticity of our own experience. Because I guess that's where people get into trouble with like substances and so forth that are a substitute for potentially well-lived life, right? Um, where, oh, I lost my train of thought. A bird flew by. That's all it takes. Um, where I lost my train of thought. Okay.
That's okay.
Edit.
It'll come back. No, there's no editing. Um,
Well, that's the thing too, that authenticity, right? Maybe that's what I was going to say was that we just move on. Like we just if something's not right, we just keep moving. We don't have to stop. We just keep moving on. We keep creating the next moment. We just step into the next river and move on.
so do you think that then that love that we were talking about also is connected to our ability and our willingness to really be our authentic selves? Because when we are, then we are in love.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to, that's the point, right? That when we are our authentic self, we can love ourselves because that's the Tao moving through us.
Mm,
We feel authentic. We're just like life is happening through us. We're not making it happen. We're just like, oh, I can be with you and forget what I'm going to say 5 times. And you're just like there waiting for me to either know what I want to say or helping me say something else, right? And so it's all okay because
right.
we love each other. We're in a field of love. We trust that field of love. And that field keeps us moving forward. And yeah, the authenticity is and the genuinely lived life is, I think, a life where you trust that and you just
Mm,
let it keep living you because that's the bigger self. That's the Tao flowing through us, right? It's not us trying to make, because I could do lots of things to try to have a good life. I could make a whole lot of money. I could get plastic surgery. I could have a boat. I could, like
yeah.
whatever you think is a well-lived life. But a lot of times that doesn't make people happy. And I have to say, I'm happy. I don't, I don't even need to travel that much. I like to travel, but I don't really even need to travel that much anymore because I'm traveling in my inner landscape all the
Hmm.
time, and I'm traveling wherever I am to connect with the world around me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say, hi, Dale. The
Right.
inner landscape is, and I remember Carolyn Mace talking about that like years ago, um, that the inner landscape is so much more interesting than the outer landscape. And I mean, they are a mirror for each other, but wow, when we can drop in and excavate and go, like, it's pretty remarkable what is going on inside of ourselves.
Yeah, when we place ourselves in our human body and we think that we are just our human body, then we're limited to what's around us, right?
Right.
Like what we can see and hear and feel. But in the inner landscape, I know this from like, working on lots of bodies over 35 years, um, that the body is the stuff of the universe. It is nature, right? So when you touch into a body, whether it's yours or somebody else's as a healthcare practitioner, we don't all know how, but we all can have the opportunity of touching the stuff of the universe.
Mm,
It's the stardust, right? And the leading quantum physics is mostly leading us to the idea that the nature of reality is holographic. So if we're touching part of the nature of reality, we have the opportunity to touch all of it, right? So in our bodies, in our inner landscape, where we can be more than just our outer shell, we have access to the whole nature of reality. And that's the unconscious and the subconscious, but it's also the ancestral. It
right,
goes across time and space,
right.
the creative, the insightful, the emergent, the channeled information that comes from someplace else, the spark of an idea, like I'm going to be a chiropractor. Where did that
I don't know
come
where,
from?
yeah. Yeah, and I recently heard somebody talking about, our identity, our physical form that we have come into. They really were talking about it as if it were an avatar, which is such a cool way to think about it because, when you think about all the video games and all of the things that, people are making avatars for themselves to play these video games. And so we are no different,
Mhm.
and our soul chose this particular avatar to experience this three-dimensional life for whatever reason,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Or we build this avatar all the time with our consciousness, with our flow.
Yes.
Like that's why you keep getting even more beautiful and Gladys keeps getting even more beautiful because you're continuing to be, and it looks different. It looks more wise, it looks maybe older, right? Because we're there now, we're
Yeah.
building a different kind of beauty, we're building a different kind of avatar, and maybe that's our movement through life.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Very cool. I love that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, anyway, there was something else. Oh, I was going to tell you, I wanted to just mention, like, so one of the things, I was just out in Santa Barbara, saw the boys, and then no, the month prior, I had been out in San Francisco and saw Grace. So for those of you, I have three children, two boys and a girl, and they all live in California. I live in Connecticut. And so anyway, I went out to see them, and it it's just interesting to, I don't even know how to say this. All I'm going to say is when I got on the plane to come home, I was crying, thinking about the letter that I wanted to write all three of them about if I did nothing else in my life, mm, I have put three people on the planet that just brings so much light to others.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels kind of weird to think like, oh, you're just being a proud mom and, all the things. but there is something about that. And, even if you can't have children and all the things, but for me, it was such a powerful feeling that, like, there is no striving in that. There's nothing really that I have to do
Mm,
because it's there. It's already happening. And I don't know, it was just such a deep feeling of gratitude and beauty and expansiveness and kind of marveling at being able to be the witness to that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it was a really amazing realization that I hadn't come to in that level of depth in my body.
You're the embodiment of it. Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
it as you're talking about it. Well, good job, Mama. I
yeah,
mean, I mean, that's what it's telling you, all the trials and tribulations of parenting, all the work that you've done and all the guidance and support and their own souls, but also their souls choosing you to come through. And you're right. I listened to your solo podcast that you did last time. And when you spoke about the light that they share in the world and all the people and I know that because people like when I tell people that, that Katie's kids aren't coming to the party, they're all like, what? You know, like everybody wants to be around them because they are pillars of light and laughter and love. And, they energy moves through them
you're
and
right.
you have been wanting to help them become individuals, right? And so now they're all in California and you get to step into that field and say it's happened,
Yeah.
it's happening, like you
Yeah,
said.
it's such an interesting, yeah, it was an interesting embodiment of that. And I'm just so incredibly grateful to have felt that and now have it sort of weaving through my cellular space, to take that in.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That is so important. That's what I want to it makes me just really want to lean into that and encourage you to take time to take that in, like really let it go into your DNA. Talk about an alchemical upgrade to your own self, to your own soul, to take in the light and the gift that you've given to the world through all the work that you've done, that is now giving to the world
right.
with you doing anything more, you know, and the
Well,
fact that yeah.
yeah, I mean, I was just not that, we could, I mean, I could say the same for you, when you look at what you've given through your space and how you and your beautiful, amazing children and grandchildren and all of it, like, um, and the way that you have shared the way that you move through the world with your two boys, that like it's just such a beautiful thing to witness and then to also see how Dale, your husband, fits into all of that. Because I mean, I don't know, I would probably say that the whole house and the is was more your idea and he was just like, cool, yeah, I'm in, let's do it.
Yeah, I call him the driver on my bus of dreams, yeah, he's amazing.
Because
I
he does
have,
shit, he can just get
he
stuff
gets
done.
shit done.
Yeah,
That's going to be like, that's his motto in life.
yeah,
Dale gets shit done. He's a wood element. I'm a water element. I dream and think and flow and he's like, let's get some nails. Let's
yeah.
get some wood. So we were just talking about that, like it's not lost on us when we come up the path from the lake and we see the property from that perspective with a house and a barn and a wood shop and a vineyard and the fire pit
The
and just
chickens.
the chicken coop and the gardens and um, that he built. So, I mean, I helped too, obviously, but he built so much of it and he has a will that's just like we're going to do this, and then he figures out how to do it.
Right.
He general contracted this whole thing. He put it together. He got where we needed help. He got professionals where we could do it ourselves. We did it ourselves. And it goes back to love one more time because I just think that I can only speak personally and I hope it doesn't sound selfish, but my partnership with my husband is so steeped in love that it's like we're very different people. It's not about our personalities. Like he'll say something and I'll roll my eyes and be like, oh God, I can't believe you said that. And I'll do something and he'll be like, what are you doing? Like, but underneath that, there's like this really strong dedication to loving each other.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to do with our personalities. It has to do with the Tao and flow of things. And so my dreaming and ideas about living off the grid and straw bale and I had to research that. But when I brought it to him, he like trusted me in that field of love, right? Enough to be like, that kind of makes sense. I think we can do that, right? So we didn't have to like work it out up here. We didn't have to be like, Michelle wants to do this crazy thing. I'm not doing it,
Right.
right? It was just like we synergistically came together and created what we have here. So point being that many times in my life, many times in a month, I would say I have a deep realization that I would not be who I am today without the field that my husband holds for me, because it allows me to continue to let go. And when I say letting go, I mean that in like an alchemical way. I think this is kind of from Chinese medicine, but like the idea that our spirit is related to the heavens somehow, right? It lives beyond our bodies and it, 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 there's a spark of awareness, maybe for a project or a way of living or a house to build. And that comes down the mountain of who we are. And it comes down to the mists that are around the top of the mountain. And that's our vision and dreams and goals. And then it comes down further into embodiment into our solar plexus. And that's, where we have the intention, where we move forward, where we buy the nails and buy the wood and put it into the ground and manifest it. And then it comes further down into embodiment. Oh, now we live in this place.
Mm.
Wow. We get our nervous system starts to resonate and the intention comes back again. And in Western culture, Western philosophy, Western psychology, that's it. Constellate yourself and you're good to go. But in Eastern traditions, there's one more piece, the water element. It's about letting go down into the earth again. So like Gladys would say, like letting go again, because then that spark that comes down, that energy finds itself in the earth. You realize it's not about you. It's not Michelle built this house and I'm so cool. And,
Right.
it's not about that. It's about like, wow, look what happened to us. Look what life flowed through us back down into the earth. So the earth gets all of that benefit and the gratitude from that, because then that's the deepest yin that comes back up into the next spark of awareness that descends down the mountain again, and then all the way down into the earth and then up. And you get this torus of energy that continues to flow. And then that's like being in the Tao, right? So that there's no end, there's just flow and connecting and feeling, having an embodied feeling, and then surrendering that so that it's not stiff and it's not an end point. Um,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
That's cool. That I love that. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard you really say it in that way, and I love that idea of it coming down and through the body and then into the earth and creating that torus field that keeps flowing. Um, and that can be done anywhere in any body at any time, in any moment.
right,
It doesn't, like you were saying, it doesn't have to be, oh, Michelle's so cool because she built this house. It could be anybody walking down the street creating that exact awareness of how to not channel, but how to let that energy flow through their body.
Right. Because if you have a model like that, then that gives you, it's a model,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's somewhat related to how energy moves and it's ancient and it's probably
Yeah.
true. But it's a model. And so then you can say, well, if things aren't moving, like Gladys would say in her book, where is the water not flowing? Where,
Right.
and looking for the trickle, looking for the place where you
The
can
trickle
work. So
around the dam.
do
Right.
I have a dream? Okay, that's good. Is it in the intention? I don't know how to move it forward. Okay,
Mm.
that's where I need to work. Or do I move it forward, but I'm not living in it yet? I need to embody it. Do you know what I mean? So then you can
Yeah.
start to
Yeah.
look at where the blockage is and also the letting go. That's what would consider alchemical healing or alchemical upgrade because the laws of thermodynamics say that energy goes into disorder and everything decreases entropy. Things become energy is lost over time. Things decay, bodies decay, and so forth. But when you really let things come apart, like a caterpillar going into a chrysalis and dissolving into liquid, right?
Right.
Then all of that energy is available for the next upgrade, for the
Mm.
next possibility. So that's, I think, what we talk about when we talk about that authentic flow and, the looking for the next thing, looking for the trickle, Gladys would say, the place where energy is moving. Because if we do that and we metabolize things completely, then we're a new person. Like
Mm.
we're ready for the next thing, right? So we have a new spark of awareness. We have a different conversation. We have a new insight about our relationship. We have a new thought about a career. We're going to get into portal painting and
Right. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
really, we keep things moving. It's not just like, oh, well, this is who I am, and I'm not good at that, and I can't do that. And my life didn't turn out the way I wanted to because
Right.
we let it digest and metabolize all the way. And then it's available for that to feed the next
Yes.
the next cycle, the next growth. And that's what we said at the beginning. A well-lived life is a life cycle thing. I was thinking about, when I was 20. To me, if you asked me what a well-lived life was when I was 20, I would have told you it's going out dancing every night on tabletops and,
Right.
yeah, and drinking some tequila. That
Yeah.
was a pretty good life to me.
Yeah.
I had my own apartment and, I was done with college. I had a good job. That was that. I was
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
But that's not what I would do now. I mean, I'd still love to dance, but I can leave it mostly
I
leave
could
it
I
alone.
could see you on a tabletop having a
I
sip
can,
of tequila.
I can do it. I can do it. Yeah.
Oh, I just love our conversations,
Yeah.
always, always.
Yeah.
So I think I need to wrap this up and get going, but oh my gosh, I feel like this is part one of many, many conversations with you. I mean, you know how much I deeply love our conversations whenever we're together.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's kind of a cool thing to be sharing with people because I think you and I have a way of just feeding off each other and we keep it's just there's something that happens when you and I
Yeah.
have a conversation,
Yeah.
and again, like one of those, that's a divining rod moment for me. It's like I'm good. I just had a conversation with Michelle. I'm good. I feel really integrated. I
Yeah.
feel like I've tapped into, that authentic space in me, uh, because we can have these conversations and I can be super honest and so real with you. And I always have been able to. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And it's such a gift. And I love you so much.
I love you too. And yeah, it is so, you're right. I hadn't quite thought of it quite this way before, but you're my other Dale, like you're that person too. Like when I am in conversation with you or when I come down and I need you to adjust me or work with me and I do portal painting with you, you are a solid ground that I trust implicitly, that I trust completely, because you're always there for me. Even if I say something that's like weird or something, you're just like, tell me more about it, like you're just there. And this is an example why we love this so much, is an example of love in action.
Mm,
That's what we are when we're together. We're love happening and learning about itself together by having that field of
yeah.
trust and love, and exploring and finding our authentic voices. And that is a huge gift. And I know you cry more than I do when we get to the place of recognizing that in each other, but I want you to know how much I feel it. I feel it the next day. I'm a slow digester of things, but after I've had a conversation or I've been with you, I'm just like, she's just like, she's right there at the bottom of my life. She's right
Mm.
there for my soul to be to be learning and growing. Yeah, I
Oh,
just appreciate that.
so good. Okay, well, I love you. And thank you for exposing yourself to my community. And there will be more, I feel. So, yeah,
Could I say one more thing?
no.
Please, please.
Yes.
I would just like to mention that I wrote, if people are interested in this, you've kind of opened the conversation with intentionality and building
Yeah.
space and living in a space with intentionality. And if people are interested, I wrote our story of building this place, which has way more to do than building a place. That's only like a small part of it. But it has to do with loss, and that how you move forward
Mm.
and put the pieces together, and how like a tragedy or a loss becomes this whole story that holds you and creates an intention and becomes a place that you then find that it's like the place is being built because you are who you are. So the book is called Waking to Eden, and it's a story. So it's accessible way for people to kind of resonate with the idea of a lot about intention in there, and synchronicity and epigenetics, and how our bodies heal from autoimmunity, loss, how that turns into, how the loss of a child turns into a home and the spirit of a home. So just, that's out there. You can find it on Amazon or
Oh,
Google it, and
cool.
you'll
Okay.
find it. Yeah. So
And say
thank
the
you.
title again.
Waking to Eden.
By Michelle Doucette.
Michelle Morgan Doucette.
Michelle Morgan Doucette. Okay. All right, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love you, and I will talk to you again soon.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye. Wow, what an amazing conversation that was with Michelle Doucette. Such love and gratitude to my great friend. Um, I hope you enjoyed it as much as she and I clearly did. And if you did and you want to know more, as she mentioned, she's got a book out called Waking to Eden. You could get it on Amazon. And again, her name is Michelle Morgan Doucette. And if this episode resonated with you, send me a message and let me know. You can DM me on Instagram at Katie Hauser. Let me know what you're thinking, and also share it with a friend. And there you go. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. I know you have a million other things to be doing in your life, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen. So, with that, have a beautiful day, and have a beautiful day. Okay, bye.